You'd start again, right? And just say, tell us about the disease first this time. Would that be better, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Okay, first of all, yeah. So, Margaret, tell me about the disease that you have.
Myself and my twin here, Ann Kennedy, we have discovered to have this very rare disease called mitochondrial disease. It's been taking quite a long to get to this point because I was first diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and then my muscles started going weaker and weaker. But we had muscle biopsies which show that they're defective. We have had various scans and we do have a movement disorder. So they now say that we have mitochondrial disease, which is an energy-based disease. Mitochondria basically takes the food and the oxygen that we take into our bodies and metabolizes it and gives every cell in the body energy. So that means the heart, the lungs, the legs, the brain. So that makes everything work. When they start dying, things start not working. So our muscles aren't working, our brains aren't working, although we're not cognitively impaired. But it meant that we couldn't walk very far, we got very tired, and that, in fact, we can't walk very far at all with the muscles gone and the energy gone. We can't walk very far at all. So we needed powered wheelchairs because of our condition.
And you got these wheelchairs how many years ago now?
These wheelchairs were given to us, well, my wheelchair here that I'm sitting in was given to me about a year and a half ago. They accepted we needed the wheelchairs, but they don't have the money apparently to give us good ones, and they gave us these second-hand ones. The problem was, and is that bits are falling off. The steering arm has already fallen off, the wheels have already split. Now I find that the engine, the motors are defective and leaking oil. And it's just been a constant problem with these wheelchairs. I have nowhere to put my head. I can't tilt back when I need to rest because we get very weak. We sort of slump. There's nowhere to slump. There's nothing where to do it, anything. It's totally unsuitable for us. And I have degenerative spine disease as well. And they're very, very painful. There's no suspension. You're supposed to have suspension coils. No suspension coils really. And you just go bumpity, 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 bump. They are dreadful machines. Absolutely dreadful. They are crucifying.
Mm-hmm. And Anne, what's your experience with your wheelchair?
My experience is that I was given one in July last year, I think, not this year. The wheel flew off. I said to Margaret I was too tired to go to St. Vincent's on my van, so I took it on the dart. I was in sniffing distance of Vincent's. Suddenly the back wheel, the main flew off, and I went straight into a concrete wall. Opposite St. Vincent, I could see the hospital. A taxi man saw the incident. I was bucketing, crying. He said, "Look, I'm on my last shift. I'll take you over." And I basically arrived at the neurology department with a wheel. The neurologist didn't know what to say or do. He put me in a room, gave me a drink, and I pity it wasn't whiskey. There was everything. They rang Margaret and told her to come up. As she found the wheelchair embedded in a wall, with the help of the taxi man, managed to put it in the van, bring it over to the hospital, and then we were left. What are we going to do now? I was still crying in the cafe. Everyone was leaving. There was no sign of getting an ambulance taxi back. We basically had to get another taxi back and bring the machine back.
And that's very expensive, isn't it, the taxi?
Oh yes, it was €50 there that day, €50 back. So that's €100. Then I borrowed Margaret because it was at the time better. Took it into town, the wheel split. I had someone from Guineas trying to get me a taxi. I was back of Guineas, sitting there at the back of beyond. I didn't know what to do. Eventually got back. That's €50. So now we're coming up. And then I had a mobility scooter at the same time. And I had that for 7 years. Wasn't going terribly well, but it was going. Mm-hmm. And I put €450 into that. When this went into a wall, we had months of saying, hand either or, you can't have both, you can't have both. And we asked for policy documents. There were no documents.
I'm going to stop you there for a second and just come to the point. What kind of wheelchair, Margaret, do you want? Do you need?
Well, I think there's several features we want. We want to be able to have a tilt facility so that we can go back, say train journeys or outpatient appointments where we're waiting for a very long time, and we want to have a headrest. Anne wants to have her legs up. We need better coils, suspension coils, so that we're not bumping along the road and damaging our back spine, which is also very erect from osteoporosis. And I mean, these are not extraordinary features. They are actually the normal features of a good wheelchair. So we're just basically saying, give us a good wheelchair. And we need to have something around our shoulders to hold us up, because they don't seem to realise that we actually got muscle weakness, that we're falling. Now we look okay and we can walk, and therefore we look okay. But in fact, our muscles are very defective. It's been shown on the slides that they're very defective, that we have a wasting disorder. And they've given these, and we have to hold ourselves up, you know, there's nowhere to put anything.
And
that's what we're asking for.
And when you say they, you mean the HSE?
I mean the HSE.
What is the HSE saying to you?
They're saying that the wheelchairs that we're requesting are sophisticated and I think they're almost saying that they're that we don't require them. And we've been trying to say, well, actually, we do require them. We're actually in a lot of pain. Both of us are on morphine patches. We put morphine patches on, and these create even more pain than we can really cope with.
And Anne, I know that the battle with the HSE is really is energy sapping as well, isn't it? You're finding it.
I just feel at times, at breaking point, that where is my life gone? It seems to be a begging, grovelling, demeaning. There's anger on both sides. There is a lot of anger in the air, and we're getting nowhere fast for 3 years. Margaret mentioned there about why we need these special wheelchairs. I have done quite a lot of research, and I've contacted a whole lot of agencies in the UK. They've got a bigger population base, the bigger organisations. The whole thing is done on a far greater scale. And I told them about the ones we wished to have and why. And I said, what is this machine considered in the UK? And they said, well, actually, that's the one. That's the one they're using and asking for. So we now know that there were several organisations that were not asking for something that is not already being used across the water and used extensively, and is actually the one that people are going for now.
Is it a money issue? Is it very costly?
Well, they are expensive, these things. I mean, these machines that we looked at are basically to cover outdoors. And the reason being is that I have drive the van, Margaret doesn't drive the van, and at present I have torn ligaments on both shoulders. And I'm still driving since March when that happened. We're now October. But that won't last forever. And we need something, we're 61. What we're looking at is a machine that will last us till the day we die, so that we could kind of live. And it's for outdoor. It's for getting around on very bad footpath in a small village setting. I can't be driving all the time, and we'll have to start thinking about what's the next step when I stop driving.
Because you have no independence without that.
Oh no, we're living in an estate off in a village with huge hills down in. We first get to the dirt. That's the first thing, and it's just almost impossible. I mean, when I came here first, I crashed the van through exhaustion, right off. And at that time, Margaret had an old scooter, and I had the scooter I mentioned. We were nowhere near getting these. Everything was down. The scooters were broken. The van was gone, and we were stuck, and we were trying to set up home. And I rang the HSC and I said, could we get at least the scooters fixed? And basically they just said, can you wait a further 2 weeks? And I said, well, we can't actually. And it's that kind of level of not comprehension of what we're talking about. I have a body now, if you see the way I sit, I lean over to the left. And the assessment that was done not long ago, witnessed by Councillor Kavanagh, they asked a whole lot of questions. They filled out little boxes and everything, and then they noted that I was kind of going to the left. And there was nothing in the room during this assessment at all, except one of those hospital benches with people think nothing to do with wheelchairs, nothing, not wedges, no anything. And she rolled up my scarf. I stuffed it under my bottom and said, there, now you're a bit straighter. Yeah, that's good. Remember that now, we've got to get this, we'll sort the seat. So they've now given me a cushion which has got a bloody big lump of material at the back of this hip. And because it's so short, this wheelchair is so short and I'm so long, I kind of slip forward, okay? So the longer thing I slip forward. So what they've done then is they've raised the legs up a bit so that keeps me up. Raised the legs so that at least I won't slip off. But what that does now is, I had a very bad fall about 2 years ago. This hip is criminal. And I've got a big lump right where I've injured the hip. But it's not the hip, because although the hip does kind of swivel, I've got a weakness. So it's not going to do much. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting on a lump that doesn't serve any real purpose. And what I need is a moulded seat so that we have a system where we physically have Anne sitting straight up the side.
Right. So Margaret, I mean, the HSE have assessed you and they're not going to give you a new wheelchair. What do you say to that?
Well, apart from being very angry, I would say this wheelchair is not a luxury. We have a right to have a comfortable wheelchair, and a wheelchair that's not going to cause extreme pain. It's not a luxury, it's a right, and it's an essential part of our life. So we actually do require something better than this. In fact, everybody who needs a wheelchair requires something better than second-hand stuff that's actually going to fall apart on them.
Well, the basic human right to have a wheelchair is recognised by the World Health Organization.
But a suitable one.
It's recognised by the European grouping that to mobilise in the community is everybody's right. But when you're disabled, sick, ill, with a muscle wasting disorder, you have to mobilise in an appropriate way.
You can't just throw any machine at them.
You can't just throw anything at us. And everybody in the profession would understand that we need a wheelchair that gets us out and about in a comfortable manner and be part of community, be part of society, and it is recognised by the World Health Organization and the disability agenda. Everybody has a right to a means of getting around in order to be part of society.